All right, joining us now, we got our first coach on the podcast. I count that as a pretty big win here. Joining us now, the head coach for the reigning, defending district champions, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Scott Hanson. Scott, welcome to the program. How are we doing today?
Really good. I'm happy to be here.
Well, glad to have you here, man. Well,
I made the top 5, so I'm good.
there you go. Well, coach, a teacher, everything, but summer's kind of a slow period. How are you enjoying your summer so far?
Not as slow as you think. I do the Hannahville Youth Program in the summer, so that's 4 days a week, and then I'm also the outdoor vendor coordinator at the fair, so I mark the fair and work with basically the food vendors outside. So I start that. I'm done on Thursday with Hannahville, and I go to the fair on Friday. So it'll be probably about a 70-hour week next week.
Gotcha. Now, if I remember correctly, you're not originally from the UP, correct?
Oh, no, I'm from Escanaba.
You're from Escanaba?
Yeah.
My mistake. All right. Let's try that again. So, originally from Escanaba, what made you decide to stay?
Oh boy, that's a tough one. So it's interesting because this is actually my 30th year of everything, teaching and coaching and such. So I've been in college. I was everywhere. I was kind of all over the place. I played a year at Gogebic Junior College. I was out in California, and I ended up finishing at Northern. And so it's funny because I had some friends back at the time. They're like, "Man, you need to get some roots down." And well, obviously I was born and raised in Escanaba, but all over the place for college. And so when I was fortunate enough to get hired in Escanaba, 30 years is like crazy. It seems like, oh my gosh, it's a long time, but it just feels like it went by so fast. And obviously the sunset of my career, I guess you could say it, but I don't right now. I don't have any no numbers on when I'm going to be done or anything like that. I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and so my wife just took a new job. She's started in January as an administrator at the ISD in special ed. So no plans to be done at this point.
Gotcha. What made you decide to go the teaching route?
Honestly, I wasn't really 100% sure. I think part of it was that I thought I wanted to coach, but I was really, when I did my student teaching in Gladstone, and I remember going into that day one, I'm like, if this doesn't work out for me, I've got a real problem. Because what do you do with a history degree and you're not a teacher? And from day one, I loved it. And I've actually talked to friends recently. It's like, I don't, the desire to retire, I think for everybody, and you go through a long career, it's everybody's looking at the finish line. And I was too. I was one of those people. And now I'm kind of at the finish line. And, I like being around kids. They keep you young. I love doing what I'm doing. And it's like, why would I stop doing that right now? And so I've just, even going to the classroom every day, nothing's perfect at any school or anything like that. My job's far from perfect, but I get to work with kids every day. I drive to my jobs, whether I'm at Hannahville or whether I'm at the fair or whether I'm at the high school, and I really enjoy what I'm doing. And so why would I stop doing that right now?
Gotcha. When I was growing up, I wanted to be a weatherman, but I had a deathly fear of tornadoes, so that was going to get thrown out the window, and now I'm here, now you're stuck with me. But what made you want to be a history teacher?
That's the subject that I've always gravitated towards, and I have 3 history classes this year. I have a government class, and then I have a current public issues too, which is always a dicey class in today's world. So, but lots to talk about for sure.
Gotcha. What was your biggest challenge around the springtime of 2020? Because obviously, the COVID-19 happened. Some schools are really well equipped internet that could happen, but not every student is like that. And I feel the UP is kind of, in the tech-wise at least, a little behind compared to everybody else. What was your biggest challenge?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't speak for other districts, but our tech people are really good in Escanaba. So we were actually in pretty good shape. So the technology was there. The reality is that stuff like Google Classroom and things like that they were out there, and there were some teachers that were using them, but not at a high level. And so all of a sudden COVID hits, and it's like, oh, okay, by the way, everybody's using Google Classroom, and we're starting on whatever date, and be ready to do this. And oh, by the way, you're going to teach via Google Meet. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so that's it was crazy times, and honestly, so the last couple months of that, it was crazy, but what was even worse was the next year, because we had kids. We did the kind of every other day schedule with kids, and they came like 2 days a week, and Fridays was a virtual day and stuff like that. And kids that were in your class, it was really frustrating because my son was going through this too. Is they did the 6 foot. If you were within 6 feet of somebody who tested positive, then you had to quarantine. And I actually heard a story from one of my son's teammates on at Central. I was talking to his dad, and he said that his son was shooting baskets in a gym, this huge gym, and there was one kid on one end and he was on the other, and they quarantined his kid during basketball. And I'm like, come on. So anyway, that was so that year. And coaching wise too, I was obviously doing basketball, JV basketball at that point, but probably one of the best teams that Escanaba's had in the last 60 years. We made it to the quarterfinal, and the sad part about that is the crowds were next to nothing because we were limited. It was essentially relatives who could come and watch, and so and I don't know what those, it's just happened. It is what it is, but it's a shame because I think those teams, I think we would have had some amazing crowds. Just people would have been interested and wanted to come and see that team.
Yeah, that fan aspect has always been weird, especially during that time, because I was fortunate enough to be at 2 college football games in person, and being down at NIU and the bleachers next to a cutout dog just didn't seem natural at all. But shifting gears here to the lightning round. You ready?
Alrighty.
Question 1, highly controversial, and I love people's take on this. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Yes. I was absolutely against it, but yes, it does belong on pizza.
Somebody funny gave the right answer, thank God. All right, you're at a restaurant, you're ordering a burger. What's on the burger?
Just ketchup.
Just ketchup.
Pretty simple.
Nothing wrong with simple.
Maybe cheese on occasion, but not all the time.
That's fair. First car.
First car. Oh my gosh. I don't even know if I can tell you what it was. It was I was happy as heck, and I couldn't even give you the make or model. I do remember though, I was able to drive some of my friends and relatives home because they were a couple years younger than me. And I remember running it out of gas down by the football field one time, and being real embarrassed having to, there's a free cell phone. How do you get a hold of, you go to somebody's house and knock on the door and say, I got to call my dad, I want gas, or do you have gas? And so, yeah, but it was not a very good car.
Gotcha. Best sporting event you witnessed as a spectator, not a coach or a player, a spectator.
A spectator, 96 Final Four. I had a friend who invited me to, he was with Athletes in Action, and so he was at Final Four. They were there all week and did conferences and different things like that. They have something called the Legends of the Hardwood Breakfast. I was able to go to that also. If I remember right, it was Clark Kellogg was part of that. And so the hard part is I had a place to stay for the whole week, so I was there a really long time. It was wild though, because getting scalping tickets because you just didn't have tickets, but it really wasn't that expensive, and it was in it was the Dome prior to Lucas Oil in Indianapolis,
the RCA Dome,
and it was absolutely a horrible venue to watch anything. You were so far away, I might as well have been watching it on TV, but I was there.
Gotcha. Well, you survived lightning round. How are we feeling?
That wasn't so bad.
See, gotcha. Well, so for going from player to coach. At least I coached a couple years of high school football. It was weird. For you, what was that transition like going from I'm playing, I'm having fun with this, and now you're coaching, you're in a totally different role? What was that transition like for you? When did you feel that transition kind of became easy?
Yeah, well, I was fortunate enough when I started teaching Carl Dahlhoff. You're probably familiar with Carl as far as officiating now, but Carl is in the Hall of Fame for coaching, and he was the Eskanaba's varsity coach, and so invited me to be a volunteer assistant when I first started. I can't remember if it was a student teacher. It was my first year of subbing, so I subbed before I got hired in Escanaba. But I also, which was a great idea on his part, there was an opening for middle school basketball, and he said the best of both worlds is that you're gonna see what happens at the varsity level, but you're also gonna be able to have your own team. And it was the best advice I ever had. So got to coach some junior high basketball and kind of see what it was like doing, with your own team. Hard back then, obviously young and single. I literally tried to make every practice, every game, everything. And I remember the end of the year was just total exhaustion, but it was worth it. Carl was great to work with, and we had some really good teams, and we got a group that wants to celebrate our district title from that first year. Actually, this winter, I think they're planning to come back in January for our Sioux game, and so it'll be nice to see some of those guys coming back from when I actually first started coaching.
There's always, at least for me when I coach, there was a couple moments that's like, what in the world did I get myself into? Was there a moment like that first, second year where you kind of had that moment that made you think like something, the kid did something that made you think like, why am I here?
You know, I've never really had that. I mean, obviously you've been coaching long enough. You have issues. It is what it is. But I've never really had anything too horrible throughout my career. Count my blessings, I guess. But no, nothing. Just I was just lucky that I was able to. You know, I actually had way back in the day. I had an opportunity at the varsity job, and I chose not to. And I had some close friends that advised me not to, that were older administrators. And so I don't remember what I was, if I was 26 or 28 at the time, and I chose not to. And obviously, so I was JV coach for 23 years with my first varsity basketball the last 2 years. But I would say, personally for me, I think it was a really, really good advice they gave me, and I'm glad I took it. And, you know, varsity coaching is great, but, you know, I think it was the right time for me when I ended up taking the varsity job for basketball, and then baseball. I've had it for the last 7 years. Gotcha.
Transitioning now to kind of more the baseball side. I mean, when people think of the UP, they think a lot of snow. So how the baseball comes out of the gate is in mind as a big sport. But one thing I learned really quick is baseball and softball up here are absolutely no joke whatsoever, and your program's up there pretty high. In your eyes, what makes Escanaba baseball the program that it is?
Tradition in Escanaba. Obviously, you can go back prior to when we've had high school baseball. We had high school baseball in the 1960s. Actually, the coach we had in the 1960s was the person who did what I did. He was varsity basketball and baseball coach, a guy named Harold Johnson, who was a legend around here, who just passed away in the last year. But then obviously our Legion program has been super, super strong over the years. And then obviously in the early 2000s, it's been 20-some years now that we've had high school baseball. Jude Van Dame had us in the state finals. We lost in the state finals, it was 2006 or 2007. Really, really hard to do in Division II. And so I guess I look at it at all the coaches that we've had. You know, my goal is for the program is to leave it better than I found it, which it's, you know, whatever that means. It's just I want to do a really good job. I think excellence is, you know, having good seasons, winning records, and, you know, quality players is just something that Escanaba has had. I don't know if it's anything I've done. I think I've just been blessed. I've had some really good players. But it's just I don't know. I'm proud of what I do. I'm blessed to be the coach of the baseball program, and you know, it's got its pros and cons. You know, you win. It's baseball, man. You win some, you lose some. We're you know, 18 and 15. You look at our record. That wasn't so great, but you know, I upped the schedule this year too. But you know. So we win the district this year. Well, the last 2 years, we probably should have won the district the last 2 years, and we didn't. And, you know, so you can say the ifs and buts and all that other stuff. But, you know, it really comes down to, you know, I want to be passionate about baseball, and I am. Which, you know, if you want to go into the whole story for that, too, I've been a basketball guy. I played, you know, a little bit of college basketball, and, you know, I thought I had a pretty good high school career in Escanaba, but I was a basketball guy. I gave up baseball to focus on basketball in high school, so I never played through Legion or anything like that. And then it's kind of, I don't know if this is a good advice or not, but all of a sudden when my son was young, and he was baseball, he sat in front of the TV watching, you know, games for like hours at a time, when he was a kid, and I'm like, oh, this kid loves baseball. And, you know, I wanted the best for my kid, and I totally immersed myself in baseball, and somehow I've morphed into what used to be a basketball guy into reality, as I'm really passionate about baseball. But I don't think it was an unhealthy thing for me, because, you know, I definitely, I don't want to burn out in basketball, and I think switching to baseball is really, you know, I can't even tell you, being done with basketball right now, the energy I have for baseball is I'm in the middle of summer and I'm in baseball mode right now. Now, I don't know how healthy that is at this point, but I'm really locked in. I mean, my son's home too, so we're doing a lot of planning for next year, like right now. And I guess, like I said, I don't think we do anything better or anything like that than anybody else. But just try and coach solid baseball, and I try and give the kids the best opportunities this year. I knew for us to exceed expectations, we need to play a tougher schedule. We had Muskegon Mona Shores on the road. Southgate Anderson comes up from Detroit to play us. We played Green Bay Notre Dame. We played Appleton North. Obviously, the UP teams, we split with Gladstone. Nagani, watch out for Nagani. Nagani is, I think, one of the up-and-coming baseball teams in the UP.
I would agree with that.
Especially if you look at all the way down the road down to, I think their minor league team was in the state finals for the 9 and 10s this year.
That's correct, yeah.
The Kingsfords, who's had 2 better games with, obviously this is your first year here, but 2 years in a row with Norway. Just unbelievable baseball with them, and obviously Norway, and proud of that team. And everybody, I don't know if you noticed that in the UP too, or if you get the same downstate, but it's like there's a lot of people like Norway. I was pulling for Norway like crazy.
Me too.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, so all of a sudden, that's your competitor, and next thing you know, they're in the state finals, and everybody's pulling for them because that's what we do around here, and we want them to succeed. And Tony Adams is as good a guy as you're going to meet, and that's a solid program. And I really enjoy that about coaching. There's just a lot of camaraderie that coaches get pretty close up here, and the downfall is we don't play everybody in the UP. It's just, it wouldn't make sense for us to. But you look at people like Jason Seek, super guy in Nagani, obviously Travis, and Swanson, and those are good people in the UP. So yeah. I said Travis Tyler. I'm sorry.
I gotcha. You mentioned your son a couple times. I wanted to bring that up because obviously Escanaba's produced some pretty good baseball players. Obviously Kevin Tappanuck got a World Series ring. Your boy Jared's down in Central, just finished his redshirt freshman year. Thank goodness he chose Central Michigan and not that one school in Kalamazoo I'm not going to bring up because I'm a graduate of the other school. But what was because obviously coaches have a chance to be a father figure for athletes, and for you and Jared, that was very much like, that was because you were his dad, obviously. What was the biggest? How were you able to separate being a father and a coach? And what's one memory of coaching Jared you have that you refuse to let go of?
Oh, wow, that's a real tough one. I guess the hardest stuff. First of all, he was good, thank goodness. Okay, it's really hard when you're coaching your kid, and if your kid can play, that's a positive. But definitely the hardest part, because I had him in basketball and baseball, was moving him up early and putting him where he belonged. So that was definitely positive. But the hardest part probably to make those decisions, because everybody's questioning, is he there because he's good enough, or is he there because he's the coach's kid? And so as a coach, you realize that people are saying what they're saying, and regardless if they say it to your face or not, I get it. And I guess when it's all said and done, he proved that even on the basketball court, he was all UP second team in basketball, so he was pretty darn solid, and he's one of the best 3-point shooters we've had, and now he's got one of our records. I don't know if it's career or something or other. I think it's career or single season threes. So he could really play baseball. I moved him up, and he played shortstop as a freshman, and he made 4 errors. So that kind of speaks for itself. I don't have, and 2 of those were in 1 inning in Menominee. So if you take that inning out, he literally had 2 errors on the year. That was kind of the hardest part. I wouldn't trade it for the world. Those are memories that I'm going to have forever. So I'm going to give you, and you gave me 1, but I'm going to give you 2 because of the sports. So basketball was Sault Ste. Marie. He had 7 3-pointers in the first half against Sault Ste. Marie, which he did not get the school record. School record is 9. I think he just made 1 more in the second half. But I thought for sure he had the easy school record. But watching somebody hit 7 3-pointers in 1 half was super impressive.
Yeah, that's nuts.
And then the other one was, I would have to say, honestly, so he had some I could say he had 16 strikeouts against North Central. Okay, so that was big. But I'd say the biggest one is he had major arm issues, and where he hardly pitched his junior year. And so Hunter Lancor for us was an absolute competitor. What a high school baseball player. Oh my gosh, just field, pitching, whatever. And Hunter had to step up because Jared's arm was struggling that year. And so we made it to first round of the regional against Petoskey. And Hunter went as long as he could go, and came in with Jared. And so Jared gave us, I don't even know how many of the last couple outs or last 2 or 3 outs or 4 outs or whatever it was, and we ended up knocking off Petoskey on their field in the first round of the regional to go to the regional final. And so I'd say that definitely. And yes, it was a Jared moment, but reality, it was a team moment too. That's beating Petoskey on their field was pretty special, and so that was big.
All right, I'm pulling out here in my pocket an invisible imaginary Uno reverse card. So, Scott, you get up to 3 questions to ask me. Fire away whenever you are ready, sir.
All right. So, who was your best interview ever? Doesn't have to be a UP thing. Could be when you're time down at Central or whatever. Best interview you've had?
Ooh, best interview I ever had. I'll tell you this story because that's actually cool. So this was in 2021. It was March or April, somewhere in the springtime. And Keno Davis, the men's basketball coach at the time, was relieved of his duties or fired, however you want to word it. So, and I've been working on a big thing about his time with CMU and how the transfer portal kind of changed things. And I needed quotes and stuff, and to talk to him. So the day after he got let go, I shot him a text like, "Hey, it's me. If you have time, I'd like to talk about your career." Put the phone down. I'm thinking like, there's no way this guy is calling me. He got fired. He's got bigger things to worry about. Less than 2 minutes later, calls me back. Have a really good 15-minute chat about his career. I kind of told him afterward like, "Hey, thank you for everything. Of all the coaches at CMU, you're high up there. I mean, sure, you can see what you will about him as a coach, but he, in my opinion, is a far better man than he is a coach."
Wow. That's a good story. Number 2. So you've been here for a year now. Your favorite UP destination as far as like for covering sports outside of a Delta County school? If you had to go cover something, where
Ishpeming's gym, without a doubt, because that lighting in that gym is so perfect for photography purposes. Like, I will go to that gym any day of the week, just for that purpose alone. I love Ishpeming. Okay. And also Conquer's Pizzas. I finally tried for the first time back in May, and yeah, I'm gonna keep going to Ishpeming.
All right, last one. Central Michigan. The transfer portal has messed up college sports. We'll leave it at that. But Central Michigan's football record this year, your prediction, 2025. Because what the transfer portal, nobody knows.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 7-5 and be optimistic for a bowl game. I haven't kept the best track of the program since I graduated, and all the people at Central Michigan Life I helped develop and stuff are all graduated out, and these new kids I don't know that well, so I can't get my.
It doesn't matter if you know them well or not. That's just absolutely crazy. And we've said this. My son talking about the baseball season coming in. So they have this year, the roster's changing after this year. It's going, I think they're, with the new NCAA rules, dropping to 34, but they have a 40-man roster. Mm-hmm. And I think they're going to have like 21 or 22 new people on that roster.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, so how do you know year to year what you have?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And I see that in a lot of sports, and that happened. I really enjoyed Central Michigan basketball last year. I was down for a game, just enjoyed watching them. And then basically their starting 5 is like gone. And it's like, so the hardest part I find about college sports is how do you cheer year to year? How do you cheer for that? Because you're not sure, and it's nice to watch a player develop and see a team over a couple of years, and that's kind of frustrating.
Yeah, that's part of sports that kind of get lost in college. But shifting gears here, this baseball season, the 2024 season. Obviously mentioned the record, but we talked about the district title that day in Charlotte. Make sure to get the. We're in Charlotte, right?
No, Sheboygan.
Sheboygan. Let's try that again, because I've been everywhere. All right, so transitioning here. Obviously, this baseball season was a lot of fun. Big district win, that crazy, crazy day in Sheboygan. Fortunately, the Heat didn't take it too much, but looking at the season as a whole, what did you enjoy most about this group in particular? Because obviously a pretty strong senior class and really good group of underclassmen and no juniors on that team. What did you enjoy most about it?
Yeah, well, it's interesting too because, when you're coaching your kid, everybody says, as soon as your kid's gone, you're done. And I think there were some rumors out there as soon as Jared was gone, I'm done. And I'm like, yeah, it ain't happening, guys. I really, really liked the senior class. And so, they were sophomores at that point, and, Ben Johnson, I had Ben Johnson for 4 years, one of the nicest kids, that you'll ever come across.
Oh, absolutely.
And so, Bon LaChance is one of the best hitters we've had in Escanaba in the last 25 years. You got Eli Gardner, Chase Cloutier, Nick Chu. So those kids, I knew for a fact I was going to take those kids through their senior year. And then all of a sudden, obviously no junior class. I don't even have an answer for that one. I don't know what to say. But, you look at, you've got a McCaden Hughes and Brody Eisen, obviously Lennox Peacock. Oh my gosh,
man.
So it's like, where do these guys come from? Because they can flat out play. I mean, Lennox Peacock is just a big game pitcher. I mean, my gosh, what he's done in big games in the district. And he's a Division I pitcher. I know he's getting Division I interest already. I mean, and he's going into his junior year. So he's obviously barring injury and stuff like that, he's going to be a Division I player. McCaden Hughes, I had zero expectation that he was going to be my everyday catcher going into this year, and you saw what he can do, and obviously, how he hits. And honestly, the unsung one out of the group too for the young ones, Brody Eisen. Brody Eisen can flat out play baseball, and so we'll let him a little more loose than I did this year, and the kid's a playmaker, and he can flat out hit, and there's others. I mean, it's not so the cupboard's not bare. We're gonna. It was a senior, dominated team this year. Obviously, next year we'll be a lot younger, but I'll tell you, I give a lot of credit to the success. So is the seniors accepting the underclassmen, and that's huge, and that says a lot about our senior class. That you're going to share not so much time and position, but just the spotlight sometimes with some of these players. And I think that's the thing I'm probably most proud of, is how well the relationships those kids had. There wasn't animosity between those groups. And but again, a lot of those kids who were seniors were also brought up when they were young too, so they know that happened to them when they came through. So am I going to be a mentor and help develop the kids behind me, and what kind of mark do I leave on the program, that way. And so I'm probably the most proud of our kids for that.
You brought up Lennox, and I'm glad you did, because watching that kid pitch is like Picasso going to work. But I got to ask with him, you mentioned the big game pitcher. Obviously, Greg Maddox was known for his control. Randy Johnson, a weird arm slot and a velocity that made pigeons die. What is it about Lennox in particular that makes him the big game pitcher? What is his big trait?
So for him, obviously, he's long and lanky, and so he's kind of, his movements is kind of funky, but I would argue, I mean, if you want to go back and like compare, like with my son just threw really hard in high school, and his off speed and stuff like that, change up and slider curveball was pretty, it's significantly better now as he's developed and whatever. Lennox is the opposite. Fastball is still pretty obviously solid and a big pitch for him, and I think he's going to get a big velo jump here too, I think, in the next year. So hopefully we can get him, by the spring to the upper 80s. But it's the off speed that, he's got his two-seam fastball moves like you wouldn't believe. His changeup is excellent, and slidery slurve, is pretty solid. So he's not a thrower, he's a pitcher. And there aren't many high school kids that, you can say that about. And obviously with the tools he has on top of it. So, he's, low 80s right now, but he's going to be an upper 80s kid at some point. So,
all right,
just a competitor.
All right, last two questions here. One, what does the phrase UP Power mean to you?
Boy, for me, anytime I hear it is, I was a sixth grader when Escanaba in 1981, won the state title in the Silver Dome. We listened to when they made it farther in the playoffs. We were listening to the games, a bunch of kids at a friend's house, and listened to the games. And when they got done, Escanaba made it to the finals, and my friend's family, the Newmans, said, "Hey, we're going. You guys are all invited." And it was totally. Totally 1980s, throw a mattress down in the back of the station wagon and pack in as many people as possible. And we literally drove straight down, went to the game, and drove straight back. And one of the best things I've done in my life, to be part of that, and that's the first time I've really heard the kind of the UP power thing going. So when you use that phrase, it pops right into my head, that specific moment. So Escanaba winning the 1981 state title, and I was lucky enough to be there. And thank you to the Newman family, Soupy and Julie.
Last question. What are 3 things you're grateful for?
3 things I'm grateful for. Grateful for my family. Obviously, my wife has been super supportive. Grateful that I got to coach my son. And up to this point in my life, I'm grateful that I'm happy and healthy.
Right on. Well, Scott, thank you so much for your time being the first coach. I guess top 5, something you're happy with, right?
Hey, I'll take it. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you, Scott.